We've all seen the videos of natural disasters throughout the world. It's something that we can't do anything about. But where we can make an impact on our own lives is the way we prepare ourselves for these disasters. I believe that most of us are not nearly as well prepared as we should be for the major or even minor disasters. Wisconsin is at a high risk for natural disaster, whether it's flood, snowstorm, wildfire, or even tornado. I'm here to talk about how natural disasters can affect our homes as well as give insight into how we can be prepared for the future. The first thing we need to understand is the different types of disasters, big or small, that we can be affected by in Wisconsin. First one is floods. I believe that people tend to underestimate the power of large flood. Floods in Wisconsin are not unlikely because of our various lakes and rivers combined with large flat areas that can be filled with water at a moment's notice. A big flood has more hazards than you may expect. We all know of the surface level impacts such as water damage on our homes, flushing away vehicles, and other objects outdoors. We never think about the way that floods can affect our health. Depending on the source of the flood water and where it ends up, large ecosystem crises can occur. Things like water flowing through waste management centers, factory runoff pools, and more can have serious long-term effects on our health. An article in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel describes that just in 2017, 17 counties in the southwest Wisconsin and 3 counties in southeast Wisconsin declared a state of emergency because of heavy rains and flooding. Next, let's talk about tornadoes. Tornadoes in Wisconsin are not quite as common as other states such as the ones in Tornado Alley, a long stretch of land in the middle of our country that is severely prone to tornadoes, but they are still a threat, and we must prepare. To understand tornadoes, we should know the signs that show when a tornado is about to arrive. Dark clouds are one sign, as well as seeing rotation in the clouds, hail instead of rain, loud rumbling, sort of like thunder, and of course, funnel-shaped clouds. Next would be blizzards. Another disaster that we may not think hard enough about is blizzard or large snowstorms. What does a foot of snow do to your home? It's actually more dangerous than you may expect. Aside from the obvious implications such as excess weight on your roof, icy roadways and driveways, and getting stuck indoors, there's one even more dangerous effect that we need to talk about. Large snow production can block off exhaust ports that our homes use to vent out harmful gases like carbon monoxide, produced by some heaters in central air conditioning. If these gases are released inside of a sealed-off home, the effects can be detrimental. Wildfires in Wisconsin are a very large risk, especially in the spring. When the snow from the winter melts and leaves combustible materials such as pine needles to dry, something as simple as someone's campfire getting out of hand is enough to spark a large-scale wildfire. It is important to understand the rules and regulations for fires in the wilderness and to follow these rules very carefully when camping. Now that we know about some of the major natural disasters we may observe, let's talk about how we can prepare. According to the American Red Cross, there's a 3-step method to preparing you and your family for natural disasters. You must discuss with your family how to prepare and respond to natural disasters that are most likely where you live. You must decide what each family member is responsible for in the case of a disaster so that you can work together as a well-oiled team. You must practice your plan as much as possible to keep the plan fresh in your mind. Natural disasters often don't give us much warning, and they can happen at a moment's notice. If floods happen around you, you should find shelter right away. Do not walk, swim, or drive through moving water. Just 6 inches of water is enough to knock you over, and a foot can sweep away a car. Stay off bridges over fast-moving water. If there is a large flood, entire bridges can break and be swept away. Depending on the intensity of the flood, you should use your due diligence to know if you need to move to higher ground or stay where you are. Keep in mind, if you are told to evacuate, do so immediately and don't focus on your possessions. Material objects are replaceable, your life is not. According to Ready.gov, in the US, the Midwest and the Southeast have a greater risk for tornadoes. Tornadoes can happen at any time, anywhere, so here are a few things you need to know to prepare and respond. Pay attention to weather reports. When severe weather like tornadoes occur, all the meteorologists in the area are going to be pumping out information as fast as they can log it. Understand where your local storm shelters are and practice packing up and going to the shelters so you can be ready at a moment's notice. Stay indoors as much as possible. Tornadoes are often strong enough to flip cars, so sitting in your car is generally not a good plan. Ready.gov explains that winter storms can last only a few hours or as long as several days. Being prepared before winter weather comes is essential to your health in these situations. Make sure your home is insulated with caulk, weather stripping, and insulation so that if power is cut off and you can't produce heat, you can keep in the heat as long as possible. Install and test carbon monoxide and smoke detectors in your home. Keep supplies on hand such as non-perishable food, blankets, and batteries so that you are able to stay in your home for multiple days if need be. If you live in a remote area far away from emergency services, it may be advised to invest in an external generator to power things like heaters and refrigeration. If you're in an urban area, you may be at less of a risk for wildfires, but the effects of wildfires can be felt miles and miles away from the fire itself. If you have trees on your property, make sure any of them that are near your house are properly trimmed so that flaming branches don't contact your house. Large trees that lean towards your house should be cut down to ensure they don't fall over onto your house in the case of them being burnt and the structure collapsing. Now that we know how to prepare and respond to these natural disasters, we should have the knowledge necessary to stay safe when disaster strikes. As you should know by now, natural disasters can seriously affect us and our property at a moment's notice. I believe that all homes, not only in Wisconsin, but also in the whole United States as a whole, should be prepared for the worst to come. We never think these things will happen to us, but the fact is that nobody can control the weather, and we must be prepared for the worst case at all times.